All right, I think we're live. Um, yes. So welcome everybody to today's live stream. I'm Jamie, and I'm super excited to be here today with the CEO of NMKR, Patrick, to talk about some big news. Hey, Patrick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Jamie?
Awesome. I'm doing great. I'm excited for this live stream. So let's get right into, maybe a brief overview of what NMKR is for people that might not know what NMKR is about. Would you like to head that off, or should I?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I can start and you can add anything that I'm missing. So NMaker at its core is infrastructure, right? So we want to build the best tools for launching a project. So for launching any sort of NFT project or fungible token project or real world asset. And the idea is really that you can just go to NMaker.io and sign up for free and launch your project, ideally in 5 minutes after setting it up. And we've been on Cardano, of course, mostly. So we started there 3.5 years ago, which is absolutely insane and crazy for me to say. And I can't believe we've known each other for more than 3.5 years ago, 3.5 years as well, Jamie, which I don't know, time flies.
Yes.
And yeah, and we are just continuously working on making it better for both the end customer and the projects that are using NMaker, of course.
I think that was a great brief overview of what NMKR is. So for today's live stream, we'll be diving into NMKR's multi-chain expansion, starting with Solana. We'll be exploring why they chose Solana and the new features and opportunities it brings, and how it's a first of its kind utility excuse me, for both creators and users. Plus, we're going to probably talk about what's next on the roadmap if Patrick is keen on, giving us that insight. And so, whether you're an NFT enthusiast, developer, or just curious about tokenization, you're in for a treat. So, let's get started. I think the biggest question the community has is what motivated NMKR to go multi-chain, and why start with Solana?
Yeah, so I think for NMaker, it was always about enabling projects and enabling users to do whatever they like, right? We're not here to tell you should launch your project in a certain way. We try to give the projects as much flexibility as possible. That's why NMaker, like as it stands right now, is one of the most powerful minting tools, because you can go in there and there's basically a million settings you can use to make your project really customizable. And you can have allow lists, you can have like sale conditions where only stake pool delegators can mint, you can have like updated NFTs, you can change all the metadata. There's so much stuff you can customize, right? So we really give the projects a lot of flexibility. And I think now with going cross-chain, we're just taking that a step further and saying, okay, we don't want to tell the project that they have to launch on Cardano. We want to essentially enable everyone to choose whatever blockchain they like, right? So the way it works is essentially me as a project creator, I can come into NMaker Studio and I can say, okay, I want to launch on these chains. And right now, of course, it's only Solana and Cardano that are available, but in the future, it will be more. And then you can say, okay, I select those like 5 chains, for example, we're launching there. And then what happens is essentially once someone actually wants to buy the NFT or buy, like whatever kind of token that you're selling, they have the option to choose where they actually receive it. If you reload this page, I think it's not updated yet because it takes some time to update. Let's see if it works. Yeah, exactly. So if you reload this page, you can see that there's a button now where you can choose if you want to receive your NFT on Solana or on Cardano. And that way, as a project, you don't even have to think about, associating yourself with a certain community anymore, like or with a certain blockchain community anymore. In the past, it was always a little bit like okay, there's a new project coming. On which chain is it launching? Is it Cardano? Is it Solana? Is it Polygon? And then the target audience of that project is kind of limited to the total community of this chain. And then it's also like, okay, if you want to actually reach the people on this chain, first you have to be there for a while, and you have to make them understand like why you're there, and you have to, like pretend that you love this chain and pretend that you're like in just to make Cardano better and stuff like that, which in many cases is just not the case, right? It's a business that wants to make money, and it's a community that they want to form around the project and not around the blockchain. So long story short, now a project can launch, and they can launch on multiple chains. They don't have to be set on one chain, and they can simply focus on what they should be focusing on, which is creating a community that actually cares about their project and their project alone, and not a community that is there because they are launching on Cardano or on Solana or anything else. And then me, as the person who actually wants to mint, I can say, okay, maybe I prefer Solana, maybe I prefer Cardano. It doesn't really matter. I just choose whatever chain I want, and I receive the token there, and that's it.
I love that.
Right. I forgot that there was a second part to the question, actually. Why Solana first? Okay, I'll try to keep it brief. We're not Cardano maxis, we're not Solana maxis at this point. We just looked at it very objectively, and I think there's no denying that the Cardano ecosystem, the Solana ecosystem right now is probably the strongest ecosystem in all of crypto, because they are mega active. There's a lot of money, there's a lot of users. Even if some of the metrics are completely fake, there's still a lot of users. The whole meme coin thing, it all happened on Solana. It didn't happen on the other chains. But yeah, and also going to Breakpoint, there were like 6,000 people there last week in Singapore. It's incredible. There's so many amazing developers, so many amazing startups. So while obviously there's like criticisms to Solana and so on, there are also big advantages. And I think having a strong community and a strong ecosystem is the biggest one. But then also obviously Solana is super fast. So it's really good for games and for other use cases, which maybe Cardano isn't so great for. And then Cardano is more secure. So if you want to have, I don't know, real world assets, for example, then you might go to Cardano instead of Solana, because it's just a little bit safer and like more long term and less centralized. And then if you have something which is maybe not that critical, then you can go to Solana. So we try to pick like the two most opposite chains to have a very wide kind of spectrum of what we can offer.
Awesome. I think you've answered all my questions for this interview already, but we'll try to work with that. So I really like the idea. I think going forward, you mentioned, the user gets to select which blockchain they want to mint on. And personally, I love that, because then I don't have to have X amount of wallets like across all the blockchains. I mean, I already have so many wallets on Cardano. I don't really want to add any more. So is this a button, like a feature in NMKR Studio people can turn on, or is it automatically on for any project?
So as a project, you can choose the chains that you want to enable. So basically, you can choose to only launch on Solana, or only launch on Cardano, or only launch on, like, if we have more chains, launch on 2 out of 3 chains, or whatever, basically. But yeah, once you selected like all the chains that you want to support, then basically it's always enabled for everyone to just choose where they want to receive the NFT.
Awesome. So let's go into, maybe how this might benefit Cardano projects that have been using NMKR already. So we know Solana is known for speed and low fees. So how could this benefit possibilities for Cardano creators going forward?
Yeah, I think the most obvious one is that Cardano is a bubble, like not a bubble in terms of price or anything, but a bubble in terms of community. We're all like in our own little social media bubble, in our own like Twitter things where we reach everyone and we know exactly who's part of the Cardano community. And it's a really strong community. And this bubblish part to it is very helpful. But then, I went to Singapore last week for Token 2049, where there were 30,000 people, and the amount of Cardano projects there was almost zero. There were like a few small booths. I think we were there, and then of course Emergo was there, and IHK, and a few others. But yeah, I spoke to so many people, and every time I mentioned I'm building on Cardano, they were like, "What? What are you doing? Why are you building on Cardano? No one is building on Cardano." And I was often the first person they ever met who was building on Cardano. So even though Cardano seems big, it really isn't in the crypto scene, and we are really, really outside of everyone else, all the other chains and all the other builders. And by going more multi-chain and by enabling this, if you with your project start targeting from just a marketing perspective, not only the Cardano community, but you target the whole crypto community, and what can happen is very quickly that a lot of people that might hold ADA, but they've never done anything with ADA because they simply don't know any of the applications, because obviously no one knows about the applications because they're all tiny in comparison to the rest of crypto. You might just open NMKR and see, I can mint this on Cardano as well. Why not just mint it on Cardano if they have ADA? Or why not try out Cardano? Maybe they might even click on it and see like all these wallets. We have like 8 wallets in there, or I think even more, maybe 10 or so. And they're like, oh, what is Nami wallet? I've never heard of this. And then they just go to the Nami wallet website because we link it right in NMKR, and they just download it and try it out and get onboarded. So I think it's very important, basically, to summarize, to place Cardano right next to the other chains. Like it shouldn't be this like outsider. It should be there because there's so many like websites you go to normally. Like if you go to the USDC website and there's no Cardano logo, or you go to the Web3 auth website and there's no Cardano logo, or you go to any of those big Web3 projects websites and there's no Cardano logo because they don't support it, then of course no one is gonna try out Cardano. But if you have a project and Cardano is treated equally and is part of the projects that are there, then people might try it out, and then they might realize very quickly what the advantages of using Cardano actually are. And I can tell you that after building for a while on Solana, there are many advantages to being on Cardano, and it's very reliable in many cases.
Awesome. I want to touch on that last part you mentioned, benefits of Cardano. So, integrating with a new blockchain, I probably wasn't easy. How long were you guys doing this behind the scenes? Because you didn't come out with it until it was done. And are you able to touch on, any hurdles that the team faced?
Yeah, I think we worked on it for like 3 or 4 months, and we tried a lot of different solutions. And then in the middle of us working on it, there was a new NFT metadata standard, or not metadata, but like a whole new NFT standard released on Solana. So we completely scrapped everything we had and built in this new standard as well. And it was really difficult to integrate because there were a lot of new concepts to learn, first of all. And we just have a lot of features. We have all these sale conditions, we have mint and send functions, we have so much stuff built into NMKR Studio that we need to support from the get-go, that it's just a bunch of work. And once we've done all this, we basically have a very different minting system from what Solana minting normally uses, because normally it's all handled via a smart contract, and like a little bit less flexible, I would say, than what NMKR is used to. So we kind of rebuilt the whole way, and we're not using Candy Machine, which is the like normal Solana minting tool. And I think in the long term, this will be a big benefit for us because that is what allows us to do, for example, this cross-chain or multi-chain minting. So yeah, I think it's a really good. I mean, I think the development experience is really difficult on Solana, but it was a really good experience for us.
And I want to touch on that part there where you mentioned features on Cardano that you're trying to, pass over to Solana as well. We have a question from the community. What about royalties on Solana?
Yeah, royalties are supported on Solana exactly the same way as we support them on Cardano. So there's nothing special about this. We support royalties, and that's it basically.
Perfect. All right, 1 second.
No worries.
So maybe looking beyond Solana briefly here, are there any other blockchains on NMaker's radar that you can disclose yet, or is it all hush hush?
No, I mean we do build in public, so there's a lot of different things that we're interested in. The obvious choice would be to integrate EVM chains next, because with EVM we can just basically launch on like 15 new chains at the same time, or even more. That's one consideration we have, and then I'm with EVM. I'm also extremely interested in Sonium actually, because Sony has just launched their new chain. It's still in the testing phase. And I think strategically aligning with Sony would be very smart from an end maker perspective, because it can open up a lot of access to IP and to like really good media that we could tokenize. So I think that would be a smart move. And funnily enough, Christian, who is currently in Barcelona at also a convention, and he's the co-founder of NMaker, just met with some people from Sony for lunch and everything. So we're trying to open the relationship there. I'm also interested in Base, of course, simply because I think that Coinbase is pushing it really hard. So from a commercial standpoint, it makes sense. And then more from like a decentralization maxi perspective, I'm kind of interested in Bitcoin and ordinals and runes to support those on NMaker. But we're not really sure yet if we want to do it. So it's still like discussion phase. And then there's also chains that I think are really interesting, like Aptos and like Hedera Hashgraph. From just a technology perspective, they are very different. So they might offer some more solutions, and we're looking into those. So it's not set in stone yet, but that's essentially like what it comes down to.
Lots of work. Lots of work incoming. So I guess for the current NMaker community, there's been a lot of questions, what's in it for them? How does this benefit them? How does going multi-chain support make a difference? And, maybe you could touch on what success looks like for NMaker's multi-chain journey.
So there's like a few different ways to look at this. One is, of course, the token, the NMaker token. And the other one is NMaker, the company, right? And unfortunately, right now they're very disconnected, which is, in my opinion, a big issue which we need to solve, and we have been trying to solve. So we, for example, introduced a burning program, which we haven't done the burns yet, but we collected all the ADA. So we said we are going to burn like 5% of all the revenue of NMaker for the next 6 months. And that, of course, includes Solana as well. So there's going to be more out there soon once we actually do the burn. And then in general, from like a company perspective, we as a company have like very clear goals. We have like short-term goals. Basically, the short-term goal is to become profitable. Right now, NMaker is not profitable. I think almost no crypto startup, especially on Cardano, is profitable at the moment. So we need to become we need to get in a position where we can actually start growing again and really focus on, like onboarding and not just focus on getting those numbers up, in my opinion. And we're on a very, very good way actually. So road actually. So I'm very confident in that. And then from like a more long-term perspective, the goal would be really to bring as many projects as possible from Web 2 into the Web 3 ecosystem. You can't really put that into numbers, but we want to be the entry point for projects. We want to be the one company where people say, okay, wow, now this amazing new artist joined us, or this amazing new brand joined us, and look which logo is always next to it, NMKR. And I think we're doing a very good job at that in Cardano already. I think we're probably the number one company when it comes to onboarding. There's so many projects where we like personally went out and we spoke to them and we explained Cardano and we explained blockchain and we helped them launch their project and all this stuff. So I'm very proud of that because the team has been doing really, really great work in that area. And now we just need to scale that up and not only do it for Cardano or like for NMaker, like in the small scale that we've been doing it, but like really do it for all of crypto. So yeah, we'll see if that works or not. Oh, and then the token, of course, as I mentioned, the token is very disconnected at the moment. We're working on token utility, and of course, the token utility will include both Solana and Cardano. So basically, the idea is NMaker, the minting platform, should grow as much as possible. And once it has grown, we will introduce token utility that basically should help every single project using NMaker. And because the user base is so big, it will also, of course, benefit like all the people holding NMaker. So NMaker tokens. So yeah, it's kind of a chicken and egg problem. Like we're not here to pump any random coin or so. We're here to grow a business, get a lot of like real users, and once we have those real users, we can use them and we can build something that's like self-sustaining and very, very well connected to the success of NMaker. And I know that's a lot of like buzzwords and not much detailed information, but still, that's kind of how I see it.
Perfect. I think you answered the questions because there are a lot of questions regarding the NMaker token. So people can refer back to this when they need to. I guess, has there been any project that has used Solana and like NMaker on Solana yet? I know there's a lot of buzz with the upcoming Orima multi-chain drop. So I don't know if you want to touch on that.
There hasn't been many yet. So there's like a few smaller ones where people tried out the minting and stuff like that, but not like a major project. And the Ore one is going to be the first one. And I think it's going to be a really good one because we are not only doing it with Orema, but it's also with Timons, of course. So it's like real world assets plus amazing art by Ore plus minting on Solana and Cardano at the same time. So it's like a lot of really cool things happening there. And also for me, I really think that the Aura Mob is one of the strongest NFT projects that we have in general at the moment. And I think they're not leaving Cardano or anything, but the move with this specific drop to Solana as well is extremely important for them too, because like realistically speaking, Aura is currently capped in its maximum size of community by the Cardano community. Like how many people in the Cardano community hold an Aura, maybe like 0.5% or 1% or so. And then there's like maybe 30,000 active wallets. So that's not a lot of people, right? So we need to, like, even if they increase that number to like 2% of all of Cardano holders hold an Aura or like are interested in an Aura, it's still not much. And because of that, I think it's extremely important that Aura goes at least explores going to other chains as well. Not leaving, obviously, but like building a community that kind of transcends just Cardano.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that to grow community, you need to look outside of the current blockchain, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's lots of people out there who just simply have never heard of a project because it's not on their chain. So with NMKR's multi-chain minting, I think this is a great way to introduce your project across chains and make it, I guess, as seamless as possible. No need to open up a new wallet, like a Cardano wallet. For let's say if someone wants to mint a project dropping on Cardano, they can mint it on Solana. If, of course, the project turns on that feature. So I think this is all a great way to onboard, which, NMKR's goal has been to build in public and to just onboard as much as possible. So I think this is all really amazing, and I'm excited about it. We just have one question. Well, it's not really a question, but I need an NMKR cap.
I'm not even wearing an NMaker cap. I'm wearing a Book.io cap because I think they're really cool. But I do have an NMaker cap, which I printed a while ago just for me, and I actually don't like it. Like the form of this book hat is much better, so I always wear the book hat instead of the NMaker cap. But at one point we'll release some like dope merch one day, and it's gonna be awesome.
Yes, we will. So was there anything else that maybe we missed, Patrick, that I missed to ask you?
No, I don't think you missed anything. I think, yeah, I mean, I'm extremely excited for this. I truly think that NMaker is in a fantastic position right now to grow from its pure like user base, the token, the projects that we help. And I'm so happy with Finest and all the real world asset work that we're doing. I like how the team is working with NMaker or in NMaker at the moment. It feels very positive, and I think the crypto market feels very positive. So yeah, even though maybe ADA price isn't there yet or anything like that, I truly think that the next year or like the end of this year is going to be amazing for everyone and for NMaker especially, of course.
Yes, I think so as well. So I guess if you want to stay in the loop with NMaker, make sure you're following the NMaker Twitter account or join us on Discord, Telegram, or WhatsApp. I believe nmaker.io has all those links at the bottom of the site. But yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything about the multi-chain expansion to Solana today. So, thank you everybody for joining. And if you have any further questions, you can always reach out to us or DM Patrick on Twitter and we'll try and get those answered. But yeah, thanks again, Patrick, for, staying up late and chatting with us.
It's not even that late yet, but thank you so much, Jamie, for hosting. You did a great job, and yeah, and thank you for all the hard work you're doing for NMaker, of course.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. We'll talk soon.